Well, I should point out before we begin this podcast, it's 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning, right after the Queen's birthday match, and we're both drunk still. This is the Titus and Sergio Variety Hour podcast. I'm Sergio Paradise, and here he is. I'm surprised you can't hear the tinkle of ice in his whiskey. It's Titus O'Reilly.
It's worry if we have to start announcing when we're drunk. I think most people who listen to this take it as read.
Just assume that.
They're all currently going, you mean there are times like these two idiots were sober and producing this nonsense?
Yeah, I was about to say, surely they weren't sober in the past.
Now, we should mention two things up front. One, we only did one last week. I want to apologise. We had Eric Banner, yes, Hollywood superstar.
Hollywood megastar.
Drop by the studio.
Yeah. And of course, I managed to stuff up even his intro before he'd even...
I know.
Before he'd even said, please make welcome Eric Banner, I'd made a mistake in the intro, which was the first thing he said was pointing that out.
It was weird when he started mouthing halfway through the podcast to me, help me, when you were talking. But so thank you to Eric Banner coming in and doing that. Just another Hollywood celeb.
Yeah, just, you know.
We're the next Carl and Jackie O.
Also, you are speaking into your solid gold microphone.
Yeah, that's right. So, no, that was good fun. And then we didn't get to do another one, and the reason was it was my fault. I was just flat out. I'm currently working on a couple of things which I can't announce quite yet. Or one thing I can, which is pulling together our end-of-year tour.
Yes.
Tour. That's going to be around...
I hope it doesn't clash with the Paul McCartney tour.
Oh, no.
Because people will have to make a decision.
No,
which one they go
it's joint. Nothing goes better than us and Paul. He loves riffing on AFL.
And you should hear Titus's version of Hey Jude after a couple of grogs.
So that's looking like sort of August 31st and the week after that. And it looks like we're touring interstate as well. So we'll have details and dates in the next week or so. So that was one thing that was keeping me very busy and that I can mention. Then another thing I'm working on, I'll be able to announce in the near future. So that was why we didn't get to do two. So I apologise for that, but it just got to the point where I'd bitten off more than I can chew.
We sort of just ran out of time and space last week.
I've just been chained to the computer writing, and I thought feels like a job.
Yeah, I've been trying to avoid that for 2 years.
I know, and actually I was keen to do last week because we had a lot of fun stuff to talk about. But anyway, but I do want to thank our supporters. We still have people joining up, and you're the reason we can actually do this on a regular basis and do things like the tour. And we're hoping with the tour that we should be able to alert and supporters will get to buy tickets first.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Like a pre-sale.
And I don't know if we're talking out of school here. I'm going to say that in last week's podcast, we did offer Eric Banner the support role. If he was to go
for
back
our
to stand up for our show.
And he didn't instantly leave it.
He didn't say no. But he certainly...
He didn't actually say no.
No, but he certainly didn't say
yes
either.
The fact he's changed his phone number since we did that with him. So anyway, that was good fun. So thanks to our supporters, and you can join and become a supporter by going to titusoreilly.com, and there's a support section there. Now, the Queen's birthday, it's fair to say in recent years, calling this a blockbuster...
Yeah,
only in the sense of blockbuster video. Not really.
It was big in the 80s.
It's sort of... my thought of the Queen's... It's usually Collingwood have been good, then Melbourne have been rubbish. Then it moved a bit into both being fairly rubbish.
And Melbourne had a bit of a run there for a while.
Yeah, so it's gone all... But they've never both been in a real serious positions. Then you have Neil Danaher come along with the Freeze MND...
which is just fantastic.
Which, more than the football, actually elevated it into being an event, in my view.
It was sort of like
that was the event, and then they had a footy game tacked on.
Both sets of supporters, which you
can't do in any other way. And the wider footy community, because a lot of people would have tuned in yesterday
just to see that.
Yeah. Probably flicked over once they saw that first quarter, they probably flicked away.
Or once they heard Brian Taylor commentating this down the slide into the ice bath. That would have been a quick.
Did you hear the bit where Gilchrist went down?
Yeah.
And he said, he's from Perth. He wouldn't be used to the ice, except at the after parties at Cricket Australia after victories with Cricket Australia.
They're
all on ice.
Well, I think Gilly quickly jumped on board and said, "Oh yeah, we used to put the beer in the ice when I played, and now they have to put my body in the ice."
So it was good, the slide. They're all pretty good going down there. So
would you do it next year? Maybe we should start a campaign to get Titus O'Reilly down the ice.
No,
wouldn't do it.
One, I hate going outside.
Yeah.
Two, that means I even more hate going
pretty damn cold
into an ice bath. Plus, I hate charity.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I did donate to this time.
Did you?
Which is rare because I usually with charities prefer to just give the money to me.
Yeah, I usually just try to. Last year I just knocked off a beanie. I saw a kid drop one behind him at the MCG, and I picked it up and didn't give it back to him. I thought, I've done my bit.
That's the thing. I used to be able to write off being a Melbourne member as charity, but now that they're going okay, I figured I might as well put it towards something worthwhile. So it was a great event. The actual game itself was a combination of intense frustration.
Oh, the first half. I mean, we're obviously speaking from Melbourne supporters' point of view, but Collingwood's pressure was great in the first half, but Melbourne, they kept going back into what we call the old Melbourne, where they'd handball to a player stationary surrounded by three Collingwood players.
And missed them.
Or hit his toe.
The amount of missed targets, like kicking over some. That second quarter is what Melbourne tend to do. Collingwood, to me, all game were really good with what they've got. So I've never believed they've had a great list. I think outside of basically Pendlebury and Treloar's a superstar.
Treloar's fantastic. And Sidebottom yesterday.
Yeah, but they apart from that, they've got a bunch of not that good to okay players. Like they're not terrible, but they're not great. They're just,
not too many
and then they had a lot of outs too.
Yeah.
They had a lot of outs. So did Melbourne, but they had a lot of outs.
I'll tell you what, if they'd had Elliott in their forward half, they made a lot harder.
Well, Moore's better when Elliott's in, but otherwise you just put someone on Moore and you can basically. So Melbourne were all over the shop in that second quarter, as they tend to do, but then started to come back. Now the Collingwood supporters, and after the match, had a lot of them contact me to tell me that the umpiring was biased and it was rigged. And they said, how much did it cost you to pay off the umpires? And you know what? It wasn't that much. I actually did, in all fairness to the Collingwood supporters, I thought they...
4 variety hour T-shirts.
That's right, that's all it cost me. I actually thought the umpiring wasn't... that Collingwood were on the bad end of a few calls.
Last quarter they were.
Well, I thought all day the umpiring was up and down. That's the thing this year, though. While part of me recognises that Collingwood got the wrong end of it, Melbourne have been in that position. This year, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And the fact is, Collingwood let a very big...
5 goals in front.
Just go. And,
you can't blame
I didn't come away from it. No, I'm biased, but I didn't come away from it going, it was the umpires that... Collingwood would have certainly won if the umpires weren't there. When it's so close, I can understand if you're a Collingwood supporter why you wouldn't exactly be happy.
Yeah, they weren't happy. But I'll tell you one thing you notice when you're at the ground, which you don't see on TV, is with the 4 umpires now, so often they're fairly close to each other. And you can see the eye contact between them as to, am I going to pay this or are you going to pay that?
Yeah. I don't like the 4.
No.
It just adds an extra amount of, inconsistency.
It's another interpretation.
Go back to the captain's awarding free kicks is my thing.
University versus Scotch College in 1858, yeah.
Oh, you were there too?
Yeah, I was there.
We had a few people write in. Cody wrote in, and this sums up the round, really. Brisbane, Gold Coast and Melbourne won and Hawthorn lost. Not really a question, just making sure this isn't some weird illusion. How many did you tip?
Oh, I can't even remember.
I think I tipped 3.
Yeah, I
got the Gold 4. Coast beating Hawks.
Hawthorn.
I did tip that, and I tipped Melbourne.
Yeah, I certainly
didn't
tip Carlton to beat the Giants.
No.
But I think I got 3 or 4.
Someone tweeted to me just before this came on and said, "Oh, I got 6." And I thought, well, you obviously know nothing about football.
You're obviously an idiot.
Tipping's the only thing it's the only test where the better you're doing this year, it's like golf. You want a low score this year.
Yeah.
That shows you know a lot.
But in answer to Cody, maybe it is just a weird illusion, sort of Matrix style. Maybe the whole thing is just we're all part of a computer game.
Well, there is a theory that people believe we do live in a simulation of reality.
Virtual reality.
And there's a glitch in the Matrix in the AFL this year, that's for sure. Sarah Black wrote, is it right to conclude anyone who wins a tipping competition this year isn't actually trying?
Well, Sarah, you're sort of just reinforcing what we were just saying about tipping.
Nailed it there, Sarah. It is weird if you're tipping well.
Oh, of course it is. Of course it is. I mean...
Because even if you tried to tip badly, you wouldn't. It's just
even if you're just some people who go, you know, I don't know much about footy. I'll just tip the home teams. You're still not.
You would have done all right this week, but other weeks you would have got smashed.
Other weeks it could have been anywhere.
Lenny Hayes wrote in. Will there be another public?
Lenny Hayes or
it says Lenny.
Yeah, Lenny Hayes.
And it says Linny. Will there be another public holiday awarded to the public if Collingwood keep getting beaten on the current public holidays? That's right. There's an argument for more public holidays.
Can we get Collingwood beaten maybe on the grand final eve public holiday?
Well, I was about to say that's the problem with that public holiday because Collingwood aren't playing back there.
No, they won't be playing the next day, that's for sure.
They haven't had a great track record recently. Greg Furness wrote in, how happy is Jack Watts that a YouTube search of Jack Watts' Queen's birthday will now yield one different clip on the first 100 pages? And they were all saying what revenge it was after 8 years. I prefer they say revenge is a dish best served cold, yeah. But I prefer it hot. Do it straight away.
Hot revenge immediately. Hot
Which is actually the name of my first album.
Yeah, I was about to say, it sounds like a...
Hot Revenge.
An 80s hair band. Hot Revenge by Poison or Warrant. Or Skid Row. Or Sebastian Bach.
Oh,
do you reckon Bach was his real surname? Sebastian Bach?
You know, I don't.
Lead singer of Skid Row?
I'm even suspicious of Sebastian being his real name. But, you know, I tend to believe people when they tell you what their name is. People don't make up names, do they, Sergio Paradise?
I hate people hiding behind false names. Especially you, Sebastian Bach. I mean, you're born in a trailer park outside of Detroit. You're probably not going to be called Sebastian, are you?
No, I don't think so. Carlton won.
Yeah, they beat the Giants.
That's news itself.
I'll tell you, I watched the last quarter of this game, and for some reason, I was really burying hard for the Giants.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking,
you just hate Carlton.
The Blues, they deserve this today, and they need it, and it'd be great for the club if they got up. But I still just kept hoping that the Giants and bloody Toby Green, if he'd handballed it over the top, they would have won instead of trying.
Well, he kicked 0.5 or 0.5. He kicked 5 behind.
That shot he had was in almost the exact same spot as Jack Watts had yesterday. Jack slotted it. Toby Green had 2 blokes in the goal square on their own. All he had to do was handball it over the top and Giants win the game.
There's a problem with Toby Green, though, because 9 times out of 10 he's won games doing that stuff for him, and it's sort of...
All that, Toby Green reminds me a bit like Stevie J in that regard.
Yeah.
He's not always going to do the smart, sensible thing for the team, but 7 times out of 10 he'll pull it off anyway. And he should have handballed it, but Jay-Z, he got the goal. But
I tell you what, Christian Petrarca was a bit like that for Melbourne yesterday too. Yeah. He reminds me a bit of Stevie J.
He was on fire yesterday, Petrarca.
Oh, it makes me so glad St Kilda passed on him.
Yes.
It has meant we haven't got to watch Paddy McCartan at Casey.
Yeah.
But still. So Carlton were great. And this is my theory on Greater Western Sydney is they are an incredibly talented side, obviously, being first, second on the ladder and all that. So they're obviously a very talented side. Yeah. But to me, they take what the opposition gives them. So if the opposition aren't on the day, they'll destroy them. If the opposition don't shut them down, they'll run over the top of you. But if you take it to them and don't give them much, they tend to struggle, unlike the great teams, of being able to find a way to break past that and actually just win even if things aren't all going their way. Yeah. They seem to just be it was almost a bit like I felt like they were a bit in shock all day that they weren't winning on reputation alone.
Oh, exactly. That was a bit my point, is that the Giants, they tend to they just run out and assume, it's Carlton. We'll beat Carlton.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas if they're going out there and they're playing Geelong or Adelaide, they'd be a lot more fired up for it. But you can go into the match with that attitude, but when a side like Carlton really takes it up to you, as they say, good sides then go, hang on, we're going to have to, go up a gear here.
And
but
change
they don't
a bit
necessarily do that.
I mean, they only just lost. I mean,
they're still a very good side, and they've still got 7 or 8 good players to come back.
It does just mean, and it's happened a few times this year, that this instant belief that the Giants are just going to win everything is not, considering Adelaide smashed them.
Yeah, they're beatable.
Yeah, they're
everybody's gettable on their day. She's trotting out the cliches
What are you
morning.
auditioning for?
Robbo's job's got to be good.
He does. Robbo got him into trouble because if people haven't heard, he did that tweet about Alex Fasolo, which I think he came out and apologised for. Yeah. And I think the majority of people, while not appreciating it, had gone, all right, well, let's,
move on there.
And at least he came out and apologised and stuff. But then he said, I'm going to write a letter to Fasolo apologising. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's fair enough, whatever. Don't need to tell the world about that really, but fair enough. Yeah. Apparently in the letter, there's 2 points to this story that has come out. One, in the letter, he asked for an exclusive sit-down interview, which is not always the best in a...
Sorry about this, Faz, but I'll tell you, let's just clear the... If you give me the exclusive...
Yeah, let's give me an exclusive interview and let's make this about me a bit more. And then secondly, Eddie Maguire on the Hot Breakfast this morning said, before that letter got sent, Robbo had asked him about whether he should send him. Now, Robbo hasn't commented on this to my knowledge at this point, so I'm going off what Eddie says happened. Yeah. So Robbo might come out and say this wasn't true or he misunderstood or something. Who knows? But Eddie said he told Robbo, don't send the letter. He said, I'm happy for you to send a letter, but let me check with the medical people first if it's okay, if it's best for Fasolo. And then he went back and he said very clearly, rang Robbo back and said, look, medical people say it's best if you don't even send the letter, just
don't contact
him at all. So anyway, an email comes through the club from Robbo anyway, ignoring that medical advice and
Collingwood
suggesting...
unhappy.
And the worst bit that I think really got them upset is it was behind a paywall.
So Robbo's, he's keeping his head down.
He's
today.
like the guy that keeps stepping on rakes, like Sideshow Bob in that Simpsons episode, just steps on one rake, steps on another. Like if he'd just done nothing and if what Eddie says is true, if he'd followed Eddie's advice... Yeah.
Which most people do when Eddie offers his advice.
Well, it wasn't even Eddie's advice, in fairness to Eddie. It was medical advice. So, if he'd followed that, no one would even be talking about it today. But instead, it's the big story.
So, there is the rest of the day and tomorrow for this story to pan out. And it's a bit early to know. This has been
the biggest story of the year in a way, and it's not even about a football.
Well, I was about to say, it's become about dishevelled old Robbo rather than Alex Fasolo.
Well, Buckley came out and said, Buckley was like, I don't believe footy journalists should become personalities or be personalities. Yeah. And I thought, well,
he did say that sitting on Footy Classified last night.
Yeah, that's right. And I remember him going into the media when, no, he's a former player, so he's saying that's okay, only former players. But I agree in some ways with that if you're going to be a serious journo. And that's what Robbo, is sort of meant to be.
But they all love it, the press guys. Yeah,
but that's happened in
away from a microphone or a TV camera.
The problem is, it used to be that you had...
he says us talking into two microphones.
Yeah, but we're not pretending to be journalists.
Yeah, well, that's true.
That's the big difference here. Like, we're not...
And we're more dishevelled than Robbo. If that's possible.
But we're not pretending to be... This is the thing. Occasionally people on Twitter will get angry at me and call me a journalist. I'm like, I've never had any pretense of being a journalist.
No, there's no journalist.
It's the most insulting thing anyone said to me. So that's the difference, I guess, is what the point Buck's making. So anyway, that's an interesting little aside.
We'll see what happens there. As I say, we haven't got the finish to that story yet.
Remember when Collingwood have got baggage already with Robbo, because remember when Robbo named all the said Collingwood had the most drug cheats or whatever, and then it came out that his numbers were a bit rubbery at best of how many were actually and so they've not got along with Robbo for a long time. So
I think it's a fair cue in that You know, in that regard.
Well, the best aren't the Triple M and Channel 7 blokes just loving it.
Oh, yeah.
They're just lining up on the long run to build him.
And if you see Twitter, he's absolutely getting smashed to death on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing you'll find with Robbo, you disagree with him on Twitter, you get blocked immediately.
Yeah, right. Are you blocked?
No, because I've never really attacked him. Why do I have to get onto that? You know?
It's on your to-do list.
It's on my to-do list. Get blocked by Robbo. Because he has...
It's not that hard,
He's blocked more people than the bloody Berlin Wall.
He's like Bill Lorry. Just block. Brisbane won. That was something I certainly wasn't expecting.
Who did they beat? I've forgotten already.
Brisbane?
Yeah.
They beat... Oh, now you made me go blank.
I mean,
I just wrote this 5 minutes ago.
How silly is that? I can't remember who they beat.
No, they beat Freo.
Yeah.
And I literally in the last 40 minutes have written my match review of that game.
Yeah.
And when you said it, I still couldn't remember. I did remember that.
That's how bad Freo are going.
I didn't have to look it up this time.
They are crap, Freo. There is no question.
Well, Fife had 18 possessions. And he just looked listless. Like they've
come out this morning and said he's been carrying a chest injury.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised because he's not the player he was.
No.
And you this is my point. I made this point about Fife last year when people were talking about the huge amounts of money they were going to throw at him. Even last year, I was saying, like, he's had a few big injuries. Like 2
broken legs is pretty
and
serious.
He's carrying another injury now, like, and hasn't been that good. You kind of look at it and go, look, if you're getting him at his best, you'd want to get him. But it's a bit like what they've done with O'Meara at Hawthorn. You kind of look at that and go, and Wells at Collingwood, although that was an absolute no-brainer. That was surprising they did that at all. You're looking at, would you take this risk?
Deleteo's done his other calf now.
Yeah, I know.
So he won't play
and
this year.
And Griffin as well is out.
Yeah.
So going for the older players or players that have been injury-prone.
Yeah. And on that Fife, he's, as you say, 12 months ago, he could write his own ticket as a free agent. There'll be clubs now go, he's a good player, Fife, but...
Well, he's a great player, but look at Carlton getting Judd. Just getting one great player but selling the farm for him is not the way to build a team these days. No. So anyway, it's interesting to see what will happen with him, but they were terrible. Brisbane were good. Brisbane, though, looked like...
They're pretty fierce. I watched a bit of this game, but still couldn't remember who they were playing against. But they were pretty fierce, Brisbane, and they went at it pretty hard, and they ran very hard.
Brisbane just killed them in the first quarter. Dane Zorko killed them in the first quarter, basically. That was the whole thing. I just couldn't believe how just... It was a bit like the Bulldogs up against Sydney. There's a few teams this week, and I know it's around the buys and things like that. They just looked like they hadn't checked in. They just looked like the
Bulldogs were like that. They were hopeless the other night.
Yeah, they just didn't look like they cared. And so it made Sydney look even better than they probably are. Yeah. And the same with Brisbane. Brisbane looked like top 8 side. Yeah. I mean, the idea of Freo...
They'll come back to the pack, but they did look pretty good.
Oh, I think Freo are going to plummet in the second half of this season.
Oh, yeah, Freo will be close to bottom, I reckon, by the end of the season. I mean, they were 4th or 5th a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, but their percentage was always like about 80.
They're just going to work their way to the bottom, I think. just like you throw something in your beer and you just watch it slowly sink to the bottom.
They're like an Aspro Clear.
Yeah, an Aspro
just
Clear.
Slowly going down. No, it was terrible. And it's the first time Brisbane have won in 9 games, and it's the first time since, I think, the 17th century that the Suns and the Lions have both won on the same day.
A triumph for Queensland.
Queensland footies is back.
Is that an omen for the state of origin?
No, it's not. It is amazing that it has been so bad, the footy in Queensland. So it's a rare event for them both to win. Yeah. The other one the other team that looked amazing was Essendon, just running roughshod over Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide were terrible.
They were shocking too. And they've been so good lately.
Oh.
And Essendon, I mean, they did look incredibly quick the other day, which has completely blown my theory out of the water, is that by the second half of the year they were going to really, really struggle. They actually look like they're going to be better in the second half than the first half.
This was the first game I've seen Essendon play this year that they really had a crack at all 4 quarters.
Yeah.
That they, and that's been
Makes
their
a difference,
problem.
doesn't it?
a few teams are doing it this year, but Essendon decided it was a novel approach they'd give a try, and it worked out pretty well. But they looked amazing. I mean, Port looked terrible.
They did.
Port looked like they didn't want to be there. I mean, they actually looked like they were actively getting out of the way, and they were
running where the ball wasn't.
That's right. And the only thing that kind of raised a bit of interest out of this game beyond Essendon just smashing Port was some of the Essendon fans booed Paddy Ryder. Yeah. So obviously because they booed for every time he'd been injected. So it was really quite like...
And like the substance, they weren't quite sure what they were booing about.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty harsh considering that in 2013 when Remo Jobe went on TV and admitted he'd taken an illicit substance, although there's confusion even now of whether he knew what he was talking about, even in admitting it. And then the Eagles fans booed him to the point where he was apparently in tears after the game. Right. That, to me, was kind of interesting because, the Essendon supporters were rightly so annoyed about that. But then they turn around and do this to Paddy. And Paddy's worst thing is that even Essendon have said we didn't treat the players very well in that time and we've apologised and all that. So Paddy wanting to leave and just not showing loyalty, it wasn't like a normal... I know players boo... I know...
It's tradition to boo your ex-player.
Like people boo Howe at Collingwood or, but it's kind of... It's not vicious booing. It's kind of almost stupid booing. We all know it's kind of like, ridiculous. Yeah.
It was like yesterday when Lyndon Dunn took the mark and they booed him, and you could see in the stand Melbourne supporters booing Dunn and then turning to their mate and sort of laughing. Going,
because it was so ridiculous.
We're booing Dunny.
And then they when he went back for that pack mark and copped it and was very brave, he actually got applause from the Melbourne supporters. But so I don't have a problem with booing all the time. You can get a bit too precious. I think the good stuff was a whole other category. But I just thought, what's Paddy Ryder really done except not want to hang around there, you know?
It's quite understandable that he wanted to move on. And to be fair, a lot of people within the clubs themselves at Essendon have gone,
a lot of fans didn't boo him.
Can pull their heads in.
And a lot of fans didn't boo him too. I know not every fan booed him.
But the other side of the coin is Paddy Ryder is having a cracker of a year too. He's just about all Australian ruckman at the minute.
So that was quite... Although, so I think there's times when booing's okay, but I actually think booing should be used more. The amount of times I've been in a meeting and, someone says something and you're like, yep, good point. And then you think, well, we can all get out of here now. And then someone else says, well, I've just got something to say. And then they repeat the same point. Yeah. You should be able to boo then.
You should boo. It's like in board meetings, a good slow hand clap when the chairman's get on with it.
One question that you and I were kind of outraged at. Yeah. Outraged.
It's made me visibly angry.
The new Perth Stadium.
Which will be open next year, will it?
Open next year. Serge, the new Perth Stadium is in Perth.
Yes.
Just in case anyone was wondering.
Funnily enough.
And there's been a bunch of debates around, one, whether they're going to sell off the naming rights.
Of course they will.
Well, there's a bit of backlash about that. But the Premier said that he'd like to sell it because he'd like the money. Yeah. And some people, fat footy fans and they said, it's better to keep it Perth Stadium, much nicer than having to call it, whatever. Yeah. So anyway, that's one of the arguments. But the other argument that came out is the Premier, Mark McGowan, came out and they've talked about, of course, in the general admission areas of the stadium, not having full strength beer,
which is
having
not uncommon,
medium strength, which is very common at the MCG. They've got
Eddie
that. But then he went a step further and said, the Premier said, if you can't serve full strength beer in the outer, you shouldn't serve it in the corporate boxes either.
Oh, well, it's outrageous.
And then all these ministers have come out and gone, whoa,
settle down.
hang on. What's good for them is not good for us.
Just remember George Orwell. All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others.
That's right.
And as we know, people in corporate boxes are better than people in the outer.
Much better.
And they deserve to have full strength beer.
Treasurer Ben Wyatt, he refused to say whether or not he supported the Premier's idea. He said and this is really not supporting it as much as they're saying he said, my view is that this is a decision for the liquor licensing process to make that decision.
Oh, there's a good...
Like, you wouldn't want to govern on your own.
That's a good hospital hand pass. If ever
it is funny, though, because that's the case at the G, where there's full strength in...
the corporate boxes.
And the MCC.
Yeah, down in the bullring bar.
And up in the other bar,
the
Frank Gray Smith bar. But in the rest of the... outside of corporate boxes and the members, it's basically mid-strength.
But the other side of the coin is that in the outer you can buy your mid-strength beer and take it back to your seat, whereas you can't do that in the members.
Yeah,
because they serve them in glass for a start. We'd be asking for trouble.
But it is already in most stadiums a bit of a two-tier kind of thing where they trust the rich people more than
the big end of town,
because they're always doing the right thing.
They can have their full strength beer.
My view is it should be full strength. Well, one, it doesn't almost matter because the beer tastes so terrible at the footy. Anyway,
yeah, true.
That your best it's better just smuggling in a hip flask, kids.
Yeah, that's what we always used to do.
But the other thing is, it's just that's why I wear a hat.
If you see Titus next time,
what's under
that.
But that's the other thing. Like, I actually think it should be full strength everywhere, and I've also been a big believer for a long time that they should lower the drinking age, not put it up.
If you pay for your ticket, doesn't matter how old you are,
that's right.
You deserve a drink.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with that completely. Yeah. So I think anyone above 4 has to pay for a ticket, Serge.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm fine with that.
Once you scan your barcode, it's on for young and old.
Nothing funnier than a drunk 5-year-old.
I know.
I've long said that.
Oh, yeah. They fall over even easier.
Oh, they're just hilarious. Yeah. So anyway, there you go. Perth Stadium looking to have a bit of a... I love how that's a big debate over there. And the Premier, I think, has gone off a bit early there.
Yeah, I think he has.
Because, that sort of thing. Now, Serge, did you watch with great interest the cricket...
Whatever you're about to suggest, no.
The Champions Trophy
with great
in the
interest.
cricket.
No, it was on late at night and I didn't even know much about it, to be honest.
Let me tell you a bit about Australia. Australia are out of the Champions Trophy.
Oh, how tragic.
Which keen sports fans would know, but most people, even other sports
We're
fans...
We're talking cricket here, aren't we?
It's a sport of cricket, yes. And it's a one-day thing. Now, basically, Australia lost to rain. This being a UK summer, an English summer, this was it rained the whole time. In their first 2 opening games, both were just completely washed out.
So not a ball was bowled.
Not a ball. They just didn't get played.
Yeah.
So that was their first 2 games, and included that their final practice match before those 2 games was also abandoned due to rain. They then so they basically hadn't played for 2 weeks leading up to the tournament at all. And then by the time they actually got to the England game, which was the last game in the group stage, and they had to win that to get through because they hadn't played any games yet, right? So it all came down to 1 game, even though it was meant to be a tournament,
proper tournament,
group stage. They'd only played 25 of a possible 100 overs. And then in that actual game, there was a mid-innings rain delay that stopped the momentum Australia had when England were 3 for 35, and then the match was abandoned overall with 10 overs to go, but England were enough in the lead that they won on the calculation. So Australia went over there and in a whole tournament and getting knocked out, didn't play a full game. How ridiculous is that for a sport?
Yeah, it is. It is. And I actually read this morning that this has cost Foxtel plenty of money because they paid a decent whack to televise this Champions Trophy.
Right.
And now, of course, there were no games on, so people didn't watch it. So, that's just the luck of the draw, I guess.
I flicked over at one point, and there was actually cricket being played in the England game, and I was shocked because it just hadn't done that at all. So it just blows my mind that you can get knocked out of a competition and you don't really even play 1 full game. Like we could have and should have probably beaten England, that we didn't play particularly well against them. But, I mean, that's the whole point of a group stage too. Like, we didn't get any practice or time to actually get any good. So how do you even judge that? It was a farce of a tournament.
Oh, look, to be honest, I didn't even know the tournament was on. No. I thought the Australian cricket team, their biggest fight at the moment was with Cricket Australia.
Well, I think it still is. I think that's what distracted them partly.
So to think, I'm on the player side here. To think that they actually have to go out and play cricket while they've got this pay thing hanging over their heads, just unfair.
Well, a few people said, it's lucky they don't get paid sort of per result because of this, and, it's a tough one. But for me, you can't really. It's hard to win when you can't play.
True.
It's just raining the whole time. I mean, who wants to hold a tournament in England in the summer? You're just asking for trouble. You might as well book it all indoors. Just on the strike looks like it's they got a meeting later this week between the Players Union and Cricket Australia to see if they can basically get some momentum because, as we know, there's that lockout being threatened in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, it's only a couple
which
of weeks
I don't think
away.
Cricket Australia have the balls to actually do.
Yeah.
I mean, not without.
I hope they do. That's just because I just want to see this.
Play.
I just want to see, I want to see it escalate, and B, it opens the door for park cricketers to get a baggy green.
Yeah, no, you'll be the first on their list.
I'll be the first one to cross that picket line.
Now, we've got a bit of here's one you found actually. It's written Australian Tennis Star.
Yeah.
Not Tomic.
No.
Not
Nick.
not Nick. So who's it going to be then? It's
Sam Stozer.
It's Kokonakis.
Oh, Thanasi.
Thanasi Kokonakis is facing a court battle this week over his right to use Special K as a nickname commercially. I wasn't even aware he was called Special K.
Well, I think he's getting a bit ahead himself, calling himself Special K.
He's not that
to be honest.
special.
He's not that special.
Just K.
But who is it? Kellogg's, who own the rights to the
Purveyors
Special
of
K.
fine cereals.
Yeah, Special K cereal. They've said, hang on, pals, you're not using it.
Yeah, they
so
own
what
the
does he
right.
want to use it for? Does he
I think he wants to use it on basically clothing and tennis wear.
Who's going to buy clothing endorsed by Thanasi Kokonakis? You should just call it
Special Cock.
Yeah, Dirty Malacca clothing.
That might be a bit extreme, Sergio.
I'm just going back.
You're
to
an ideas man. This is the marketing genius. Actually, that probably would sell T-shirts more than Special K.
It would, I'm telling you. They'd walk out the door.
So that's what he's up to at the moment. He's having it was a directions hearing between him and Kellogg's to try and find out. It's in federal court in Adelaide this Thursday. So,
I can't see Thanasi winning this one, just quietly.
No, but also, why would you? I mean, Special K is such a well-known brand that even if he says, they say, yeah, you can use it. Who's going to want it? Like, one Kokonakis isn't that big a name, really, that you're going to, who's out there desperate for a Kokonakis?
And Special K is also a slang name for ketamine, which is an illegal illicit drug.
Well, I'll take your word for that.
Yeah, I read that somewhere.
You read that because a horse was found taking it. That would be now. You wouldn't know it, Serge. We're in Melbourne, and you wouldn't know it, but the Wallabies actually played on Saturday in Melbourne.
Had no idea.
I knew and forgot, and then saw some tweets saying that it was happening, and was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that." They were playing Fiji.
Was this a tournament or just a
this is a friendly,
an international match?
Yeah, and incredibly, it was at Amy Park where the Victory and the Rebels and the Storm play, and had a very small turn up. 13,583 people turned up to watch the Wallabies
Which is about,
play.
What, half to a third of capacity?
Yeah, I think it fits about 30-something.
And for an international game, I mean, even the bloody Rebels, who nobody cares about, probably draw better crowds than that.
Well, there was talk that some of the Rebels fans had admitted on social media they were boycotting the test in protest against the ARU, who were looking at potentially getting rid of the Rebels.
Yeah.
Now, on my calculations, that would have made that's about 4 people that didn't show up. So I don't think that's going to be a huge amount.
Yeah, Michael Cheika, the coach, I mean, maybe it's because the Wallabies aren't much good and haven't been much good for a fair while either.
Well,
that'd have something to do with it.
The ARU treated Melbourne like they just don't care about Melbourne. I mean, there was barely any promotion of this as well.
Case. Yeah. As you say, I'm not a rugby union fan, but generally an international match being held in Melbourne, at least you would have read about it or heard about it or seen a TV ad for it.
5 years ago, I would have gone to every Wallabies game.
And the Fijians are pretty good, aren't they?
Oh, they're all right. It's not a great game, but it's not like at Amy Park it was Saturday during the day. Like I used to go to every Wallabies game in Melbourne, and now I sort of vaguely knew it was on. I didn't even think about it. It's just where it stands.
But you're more resistant to leaving the house now than you were a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair hike.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Maybe Stadium.
With the fire going and everything.
And you don't even have a fireplace. Just a 44-gallon drum. Standing for petrol, throwing briquettes in it.
I was burning old Melbourne members' scarves. You know how they build up over because they put a date on them all, and I think all fans of every team have this. And so you end up with because you get one free with your membership each year, got 20 of them around the house.
Yeah, we got dozens of them.
I got more scars than I know what to do with.
But there you were, the 44-gallon drum in your sort of back room there, just stirring the flames of the whole things. A plaintive harmonica in the background.
Anyway, that was it's the lowest crowd for a Test match in the professional era. So that goes back to 2000. That goes back to 1996 when rugby union became professional. So I reckon most Melburnians would be surprised that was even on.
Yeah, and
to hear that was on.
And let's be honest, of the Melburnians, if they did know it was on, probably couldn't give a stuff anyway.
Well, they definitely didn't go. No. You found something this week that was interesting. NBA players perform worse after if they've been on Twitter the night before.
Yeah, I saw this headline and I looked into it, and it was on a website called Techie, which investigates the technical side of professional sport.
Right.
And they've said, and I quote, professional basketball players who send tweets between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. the night before a game score an average 1 point less, and their shooting accuracy dropped by 1.7% compared with games where they didn't late night tweet.
Is that about late night tweeting or just not sleeping?
Well, you've jumped straight to the point of the whole exercise. They've said they've looked into this and they went through every sort of professional basketball player with a Twitter account.
Yeah.
And their final...
These people don't have much to do.
No, their final sort of summation of the whole thing was, and I quote again, they demonstrate a broader phenomenon. To perform at your personal best, you should get a full night's sleep. University study.
What an amazing insight.
So I'm actually blaming my lacklustre performance this morning on a bit of late night tweeting.
That's like saying, the best basketballers are really good at basketball.
Yeah. So if you tweet after 11 o'clock, because I'm thinking, geez, there's going to be an interesting link here that we haven't thought of. And it's simply should maybe go to bed before midnight.
The drop off in that,
you'll probably play better if you go to bed. I thought it would
be like 10, if it's 10 points less or something, but it's 1 point.
Yeah, and your shooting accuracy drops by 1.7%. I don't even know how you measure that, to be honest.
Probably a rounding error. Yeah. I mean, it's a bit like I think the danger that you have these days, just generally, is you used to go to bed because there's nothing on television.
Yeah.
So you go, I'll go to bed now. But now with Twitter and streaming and everything,
you've got no excuse to go to bed.
The temptations to stay up.
Sit up all night.
It's sort of worse than it ever was.
It's not like there's anybody in your bed suggesting you come and join them,
It's just a cold, lonely
old single bed from the fantastic furniture.
Staying on basketball, the Tokyo Olympics is going to feature 3-on-3 basketball version. It's one where they've added it to the Olympic program.
This is the next Olympics, right? In Tokyo.
3 years.
Jeez, I couldn't have even told you where it was, the next one.
It's in Tokyo.
Yeah, okay. So now I know it's in Tokyo.
Which I believe is in Japan.
Yeah, I think so. Do you like Tokyo? Do you like Japan?
I love Tokyo. Yeah, I've been there many times.
Have you never been there?
Japan is like leaving the planet. Yeah. But you're still on it, but it's it's a first world country. It's safer. The trains run perfectly, so you can go and have a great time but it's easy to get around. It's safe enough, but it's crazy.
Bit like Hong Kong. Hong Kong's like that.
Yeah, but it's even weirder than Hong Kong. Like, it's just a completely different
Hong
world.
Kong, that side of it, the infrastructure and trains and stuff like that is
great.
magnificent. But there is still, in Hong Kong, there is that other sort of old Chinesey bit.
Yeah.
Where you'll have a gleaming skyscraper right next to an old building with all the washing hanging out of all the windows. So.
No, Japan I highly recommend. Tokyo's good, Kyoto's
and
great.
Welcome to our special travel section. Hang on.
So anyway,
3-on-3 basketball.
You asked me. So now they're going to have 3-on-3 basketball. They've said they hope it will be as successful as beach volleyball. And they're aiming to appear to a more youthful and give it a more youthful and urban appeal.
Is this going to replace normal basketball?
No, they're going to have
3-on-3s as well as normal.
This is extra.
But hang on, why would it appeal to youngsters who are completely besotted with professional basketball 5-on-5 as it is?
Oh, I don't know. A marketing person made this decision, Serge.
Okay.
The thing here is, there's apparently in the States, there's a new league called Big Three that has launched around this sport, which is just half-court 3-on-3 basketball, right? Like you used to play at school at lunchtime. Let's not pretend this is some amazing new...
in every movie set in New York.
Yeah, it's like White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah, it's that something.
Taken to the Olympics, right? But what I love is... the big three co-founders, the league in the States, they said, we would like to commend the Olympics for making 3-on-3 basketball the most played sport in the world and official Olympic sport. Big three co-founders Ice Cube and Jeff Quinard
Ice Cube
said in a statement. So Ice Cube has launched the league.
Oh, right, okay.
Now, when Ice Cube is like, we had Andrew Demetrio, it's got Ice Cube. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time until Timo Matic becomes the head of the AFL Commission.
Timo Matic. Whatever happened to Timo Matic?
He changed his name to Tim something, I don't know. Dropped off the radar for me then. Remember, he did the NRL Grand Final pre-entertainment once. Or, it was hilarious.
Timo Matic, the Aussie rapper.
Yeah.
He's the Timo Manuel. Is he?
Yes, don't get it confused with Timo Manuel. I thought that guy was really going to make
Ice Cube, he's promoting 3-on-3 basketball.
Yeah.
And, geez, and the
Olympics have gone for it.
And they've gone for it. Well, at least they haven't. So how are they going to pick this? Have they thought this through? Are they going to use the same pool of players as they would for the normal 5-on-5?
I don't think so.
Or you're going to have to be a specialist 3-on-3 player? I think it's going to be
like rugby sevens, Like, this is the thing. They just keep adding sports to try and stay relevant. But it's the wholesale corruption in the Olympics.
Reducing the numbers in each team is suddenly supposed to... It's like it's supposed to make it more youthful, Pretty soon it'll just one-on-one, just on anything, It's like adding X to a sport. Suddenly makes it, appeal to younger...
Why is... the answer to every sporting administration that wants to basically make their sport better, they do it by subtraction, either subtracting the amount of players or the length of time, or the amount of overs or whatever. You've got it in fast 4 tennis. How that hasn't just swept the world,
or 6-hole golf.
Remember the golf one they were trying to launch that was, they're trying to change the rules so it was faster and more exciting, and you're like, it's the opposite of what golf was meant to be.
The only entertaining shortened version of golf I've ever seen was on some Wide World of Sports thing years ago, where they had to run between every shot, and each player, all they carried was one club and a putter. And so you'd sprint up, bang the next one, sprint up, and you'd have to be pretty fit. And you get the 18
Did
holes
they have to have a shot at each?
In about 40 minutes.
It's so ridiculous.
The only problem, you're trying to hit a 5-iron from 2 metres off the green, and then they'd run up, and there'd be no stopping to line up your putt. You just run up and give it a whack. And it was like watching the Keystone Cops.
What got a higher score, the time or your actual score?
Oh, the scoring was awful.
So did that count at all? Or?
Yeah, it did, but But the whole thing just didn't catch on in any
Really?
shape or form, funnily enough, even though the US Open starts this week. I'd like to see Phil Mickelson just running. John Daly running from, shot to shot.
If you did that at
carrying
the
two
PJ,
clubs.
half of them would have a heart attack.
Well, John Daly doesn't even get to play in the majors anymore.
The Olympics there's only a matter of time before mini golf ends up in the Olympics.
Now, see, that I would watch.
Do you reckon esports will end up in the Olympics? We laugh. It's no stupider than 3-on-3
Is skateboarding in there yet?
I think it's been an exhibition sport, I think.
Darts?
I don't know. Too dangerous.
Worried about
too many riots.
Yeah, too many
Did
riots.
you see the darters coming back to Melbourne after the ill-fated brawl or the all-in at Etihad? It's going to be at Hisense Arena this time.
It's a lot safer at Hisense.
And they're going to be nailing those chairs to the ground. Actually, there's no chairs.
Will they be serving mid-strength beer?
It's just going to be standing only. Bring your own chair. These are our listeners' questions. Timothy Byrne wrote in, has any player ever tried grabbing someone's shorts and then punching them in the crotch? This is as opposed to a jumper punch.
He's calling it a shorts punch.
Yeah, like if you've got a bit of material in your hand, it should be fine.
It should be called a nut punch. Yeah.
A nut punch. This nut punching is going to ruin our game.
I could just see Gillum McLaughlin coming out now. We're cracking down on the nut punch.
What I would give for nut punching to become having to have serious people commenting about it. Where do you stand on the nut punch, Serge?
I want to hear Jimmy Bartell explain why this particular nut punch was of insufficient force.
I tell you what, any nut punch is of sufficient force. That's the problem there.
And unintentional. There's no such thing as an unintentional nut punch. Take it from me.
Well, they did suspend. Who got the week for?
Who got suspended? Hawkins. Tom Hawkins.
Hawkins got the week for. So they are deciding that punching someone, even while holding a bit of their clothing, is now an actual one. I saw one where I think it was Chris Scott said he wasn't trying to punch him; he was just trying to push him in the throat.
Yeah, didn't Chris Scott turn around real quickly? 2 weeks ago. Oh no, it's a blight on the game. We've got to stamp it out. Tom Hawkins belts a bloke. Oh, it was just a push.
Push in the throat with a closed fist.
It'd be a shocking thing for him to get suspended over.
Oh, shocking. And the thing is that everyone was saying, can you imagine how upset people would be if that happened in a qualifying final or a prelim final? Yeah. And I'm like, no, everyone would think what an idiot the person was for doing it. It's not that hard to not punch someone.
Well, exactly.
I've got through a fair bit of life. I've gone weeks sometimes without punching anyone.
Yeah, well, other than the nut punch. But it's a self-inflicted nut punch.
They're the worst. You feel pretty foolish.
You can't blame anyone for that.
You feel pretty foolish after that. Ben Anderson wrote, who would you rather sit next to on a long-haul flight, a good bloke or a different cat?
I think Ben's referring to... We have described some people as a different cat.
Well, we don't just that's what the commentators call anyone that maybe, any footballer that's read a book
is a different cat.
Is a different cat. Yeah. He's a bit of a different cat.
Yeah.
He reads. He's got self-awareness. That's about a good bloke, that's always code for not a good bloke.
Yeah, a good bloke is your knockabout kind of bloke, a bloke who can, glass someone and come back to a successful media career.
Do you know my theory on good blokes? Is when everyone comes in and says, oh, no, he's a good bloke, that means that guy has got a lot of dirt on them.
Yes, true.
That's basically what a good bloke is.
But look, in answer to Ben's question, who'd you rather sit next to on a long-haul flight? I'd rather sit next to no one, which is in business class or first. That can be arranged. Well,
that's why I don't fly commercially. No, I always fly privately. It's just, I don't know why everyone doesn't do that.
You ever been on a private jet?
I have, yeah.
Have you?
Yeah. Have you?
No.
Once I had to for...
I've been on a Cessna, but it's not quite the same
I was in a Learjet once.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, what were you hijacking it? Or
I was smuggling.
Were you a guest?
I was smuggling Special K across the border. No, it was for a work-related thing, and they couldn't get a flight, and apparently what happens is those planes, if they are expensive to use, but often they're just around and not being used, so you can get them at short notice. And I was travelling with someone, we had to get back somewhere quickly, and so I just managed to jag a flight with them on that.
Beautiful.
And it was amazing because you don't have to go through any, like the car pulls up on the runway.
Yeah, you get out.
And you get out and get on the Learjet,
like a Bruce Willis
fly down,
movie.
land at Essendon Airport.
Oh.
It's terrific.
Did you sit next to a good bloke or a different cat?
Well, there was only one other person on the flight.
Oh, which one were you, the good bloke or the different?
Well, they didn't want to sit next to me.
The jury's still out on which
So
one
we each had our own sections. There you go. So sometimes you get a glimpse into how, the 1%ers live.
Yeah.
And since then, it ruins everything.
Any flight after that.
So it's all been downhill. Brett Willowwhite wrote, "Is Grant Thomas to St Kilda what Mark Latham is to the ALP?"
Throwing a bit of politics in there, Brett.
Spot on,
because Tomo, I mean, he tweets incessantly about stuff, and he has
and he follows no one on Twitter, which is the ultimate.
Yeah, and he has fierce opinions on anything and anyone to do with football.
Oh yeah,
but he puts himself up as loving St Kilda and it all being from a Saints point of view. But I reckon if you are the CEO or the coach at St Kilda, or you're Alan Richardson, you're probably going, Tomo, just pull your head in just for
everything.
Once.
The thing about Robbo is it's one gear the whole of Grant Thomas. Sorry, is it's one gear the whole time. Everything's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Like he gives far too much credit to everything being an organised conspiracy.
Yeah.
I just think if you're on Twitter and you don't follow anyone,
but comparing him to Mark Latham, as far as I know, Grant Thomas has never broken the arm of a taxi driver.
Well, to our knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, Mark Latham's mad.
Mark Latham is seriously nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. Andrew Byrne wrote in, will Hawthorn season end up on an episode of Hamish and Andy's True Story?
Well, if it does, it'd be funnier than the one that went to air last night.
I haven't seen that show yet.
It's one of those ones that I reckon good idea on paper.
Like this podcast?
Yeah, we'll tell you about the one last night. Hamish and Andy, stick to radio, boys.
Oh, really? I thought.
And having said that, I'm a fan of Hamish and Andy, and I was really hoping this show would work, the True Story. But the first couple, I'm not overly impressed with. So
there's a death knell if you don't like it. Tim Williamson wrote in, who should have been jokingly drowned in this year's big freeze?
I love, what a terrific question that is.
Talk about setting us up for career suicide.
Who do you go first on this? Me.
No, I don't know.
Who should have been jokingly?
God, that was what a fun memory that was from last year.
So it's, Tim obviously referring to that whole controversy around Caroline Wilson.
Before I went on Nova this morning, for my bit on Mondays, I said before we went in, before I went on, I said to everyone, so let's just do a bit of joking of drowning someone. And Brownie and Sam Pang, who I was talking to, just looked at me and go,
nah.
There's a bit, so we didn't go down that path.
So, I don't know who should have been jokingly drowned. Maybe BT?
This is where you get in trouble.
Well, Ada got his own name wrong while describing his own drowning.
What about when Tim Watson that said who you dressed as, and it was Stephen Bradbury, and he's so obviously Warwick Gapper.
Yeah,
he goes, Tony Lockett?
Tony Lockett. No, I don't think the plugger ever
had a blonde mullet.
Never had a blonde mullet.
He did have a mullet, but not quite.
I'll tell you what, at the ground yesterday, Stephen Bradbury got the biggest roar of the entire crowd. People still love Stephen Bradbury.
Yeah.
And the good thing is he gets it too. He doesn't resent the fact that he won a gold medal, in the fashion that he did. Yeah. He gets the joke as much as anyone else.
Yeah.
Which is why people love him.
Yeah. Who do you want to give the T-shirt to this week, Sergio?
I'm leaning towards Timothy Byrne and the Nut Punch.
There you go.
Tim Williamson, that's not a bad one. Who should be jokingly drowned?
Just need one from you, Serge.
Okay, let's go with Andrew Byrne. Will Hawthorn's season end up on an episode
Timothy
of Hamish and Andy?
Oh, no, Andrew Byrne.
Andrew Byrne.
Excellent, Andrew. That might be Timothy's brother.
Yeah.
Well done,
you can
Andrew.
Share the shirt.
We'll be in touch. I've got a few T-shirts to go out for listeners' questions this week. So if you have one in the last week or so and are wondering, where is it? I am getting to them. I had to order some new ones.
Oh, do you? And Emma Quayle at the Giants. Yours is on the way.
You've been promising.
But yeah, I got a message from her the other night saying, I don't
former age journo.
Yes.
Gee, every age journo's leaving.
Oh, they're all gone. They've all pulled up stumps.
Because Martin Flanagan, I saw.
Martin Flanagan, who was the only reason to buy the Saturday Age.
Well, he's finished. He wrote his last column on the weekend. And,
Rowan Conley's gone.
Rowan Conley's gone, and
God, there'll be nobody left there. Laugh at it. It is a shame because the Age was once a great newspaper, and it's just been emasculated now.
Decimated.
It's like Channel 10. Channel 10 may not be in business next week.
I know. I've told Stephen, I did contact Stephen Quartermain, who we've had on this podcast, and said there's always a job for you at the variety hour.
There's a gig here, Quarters. Don't worry about it.
It doesn't pay anything.
No, it don't pay as much as commercial TV, but...
Well, it might actually pay more than Channel 10.
At the minute.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks to our supporters again. If you haven't already and you'd like to become a supporter, go to TitusO'Reilly.com and there's a support tab there, and we do appreciate it. The other thing you can do to help us out is go and rate us on iTunes.
Yeah, been some nice comments lately.
Yeah, I'll leave a comment. We always enjoy that. And that helps us get the word out about this little podcast we do. We will be back Thursday.
Definitely.
We're back to normal programming this week after I got through a bunch of stuff last week. And we should have details very soon about our tour, actual tickets going on sale. And our supporters will probably should just making sure the IT all works, but we should be able to give them advance notice. So another reason it's worth becoming a supporter.
Absolutely. You get better seats.
Better.
Maybe even a meet and greet with Titus.
Oh,
well, gee. Would
anyone want that?
You don't want to go that far. You don't actually
don't want to ruin their night.
Shake someone's hand.
I was more thinking I didn't want to ruin their night. Anyway, we will see you on Thursday.